Okay.
Looks like it's going.
Yeah, it is. So hi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
This is the first time that we meet, so maybe I'll introduce myself a little bit so that you know who I am. Um, I'm Barry. I'm a cloud solution architect working for Microsoft, the Netherlands. And I just started there in March. It's now April, but it feels like a year ago because well, you work for a big company, you know how it goes.
Yeah,
So
everything changes fast.
yeah, it's crazy. To learn so much, do so much stuff, see so many customers. It's lots of fun. So maybe you can take it from there and tell us who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Brittany Ellich. Thank you so much for chatting with me. This is exciting. I am a staff engineer at GitHub. I am currently working in the enterprise space, and I'm very just passionate about using AI to make things work better. I think that, if you're an engineer right now, this is like the exciting space to be in. So, yeah.
Isn't it cool? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so cool. It's just such an exciting time. That's also why I kind of joined Microsoft now, because this is the most exciting time I've seen since I've been working in software. It's just so much fun. So how did you end up at GitHub?
Yeah. I've been at GitHub for almost 4 years now, and I was previously working for as a software engineer at a medical education company. It was pretty small, and I've done a couple of other gigs too. And yeah, I was very excited about GitHub to get into developer tools, and that was my first foray into it. And I realized that I actually really enjoy working on developer tools, and I like GitHub specifically because the product is very engineering driven, and so I feel like I get to sort of flex my like product skills in addition to my
Mm.
engineering skills, which is really fun. So I worked on GitHub Actions for the first 2 years, and now I am in the enterprise space.
What does that mean in the enterprise space?
I work
Mhm.
in billing, which is like it's one of the things that falls under enterprise. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like looking at things like enterprise licensing and subscriptions and things like that. I specifically do most of my work on metered billing, which means like the usage-based billing, like Copilot requests and actions things and stuff. So like each one of those needs a line item to bill for it, and that's what I work on.
Okay. And how do you do that? Do you use AI?
Oh, I mean, we use AI quite a bit for development, definitely. But one of the things that's kind of interesting about working in billing, like in a lot of other roles that I've had, you really worry about things like speed or, um, some other engineering metric, like it's the most important thing, and you're always driving towards that. Whereas in billing, the speed at which people get billed is a little bit less important, and it's more about accuracy. So that's sort of the thing that you're always optimizing for, is trying to make sure that the amount that people are billed for is as accurate as possible. And that gets really complicated when you have, many, many, many millions of events all the time. Yeah, it's hard to do, but it's fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. That is such an interesting space, though, because yeah, it doesn't really matter if it's a minute later that you
Mhm.
show it. It just needs to be super duper accurate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is
Mhm.
really hard in a distributed system, actually, to optimize for accuracy because there are so many things that can go wrong in so many ways that you can miss. Usually, if something goes wrong, then you err on the side of underbilling, but like you also don't want to do that because that means that your company's making less money. So, um, avoiding overbilling is a much easier problem than avoiding underbilling.
Yeah. So if you make a mistake and you underbill, then GitHub can lose millions.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we try
No
not to do
pressure.
that. Yeah, no pressure. Yeah, it's pretty interesting too. I like the fact that there's a lot of different customers for it. Like it's not just like the customer, which is like the GitHub user, but it's also you have like the product customer where like the actions team or the Copilot team or whatever, we're always trying to optimize for their experience so that they don't have to think about billing. Ideally as like a platform, that's something you want to optimize for, as well as, the support team and then we have like the business side of things where we have to make sure that we have accurate data for the business to be able to make decisions. So it's a pretty interesting role, I think, from that perspective.
And then how does that work? Because GitHub is a SaaS platform, right? It runs in the cloud, GitHub Cloud, GitHub Enterprise Cloud, and there's different clouds as well, right? Like data residency, as in GitHub in Europe or in different places. And you can also host it yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of different customization options, which is the other fun side of the billing coin. I feel like is like all of it is edge cases. Everything is an edge
Yeah.
case. Yeah. So lots of different ways that people can have their enterprise set up, because lots of different enterprises are different and business needs are different.
So is your billing engine then all the same for all these products? Or do you use different, let's say, versions?
They're more or less the same. I think that billing works a little bit differently depending on what people are using. Like I think server works differently, and we don't necessarily connect the billing side to enterprise server, because I think that's part of like the benefit is that people run it on their own equipment. And then we have different versions of our billing system for different data residencies. That way, like the data that is generated in Europe stays in Europe. Same with everywhere that
Yeah.
there's data residency. That way it all is where it needs to be.
Yeah. Complicated.
Yeah.
But fun.
Yeah.
Do
Fun.
you still write code, or do you just talk to an agent all day?
That's a good question. And I feel like that's something that's changing, gosh, so rapidly. I think most of what I do now, the way that I kind of divide it in my head is like there's asynchronous development work that I'm doing, and then there's synchronous development work that I'm doing. And so I typically have quite a few things going on async, where I'm like just saying like, hey, like cloud agent, do this for me. And then I'm like delegating tasks out to a cloud agent. And I try to not take on more than like 3 or 4 of those at once, because then it just ends up being really hard to keep up with all of the code that gets generated. And then locally, then I work in VS Code or with Copilot CLI to do that synchronous work. And that's usually like more difficult things or things that I haven't quite figured out yet. So I don't have all of the knowledge that I need yet to go and delegate that task. So those are the synchronous things that I typically work on. And usually those I try to do like one thing at a time when possible.
Yeah, because now you get all these little tasks that you delegate everywhere, and then it kind of fills your whole memory space, your own memory space. It's
Yeah.
difficult to keep track of everything.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
lot.
really hard problem right now, I think, is just like dealing with the human brain part of like, what am I working on and how do I get all of these things done instead of just started. It's very easy to start things with AI. It can be very difficult to make sure that they all get finished.
And then when you just said asynchronous stuff, do you mean you ask GitHub Copilot agent, the thing that is in the cloud on github.com, to do something to create a PR for you? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so I'm typically doing something like that for like small bug fixes or things. Like my general rule of thumb when I'm like, is this a thing that I'm going to do, or is this a thing that coding agent is going to do, is like, do I know exactly how to do this thing? And if I do, then I just make sure that I write everything up. I use Whisper right now. That's my like tool of choice for transcribing everything very quickly. And then use Copilot to like make sure everything is there in the task, and then assign it to Copilot to actually go and do the work. Whereas if it's a thing that I still feel like I need to explore, or I'm not quite sure what the approach is, then I'll do it myself. In an IDE working with coding the other agent. There's so many agents now. It's such an overloaded term.
It is a very
Yeah.
in agent mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very confusing because in VS Code you have your little chat window, and there is agent mode, but really it's different modes that have different tools and different permissions. And then they call those participants as well. And you can have all sorts of specific ones. It's very confusing. But basically, it's just a text box that you just talk to.
Yeah.
And it just does stuff for you.
Yeah. And I would say, I think like 100% of my work now is with AI doing it, either synchronously or asynchronously. There's occasionally a time where like if it's like, oh, like there's a CSS problem, I'm gonna run in and like fix that really quick because it'll probably be done faster by me than with an agent, or some like manual text changes or something. But everything else is pretty much all done now with AI, which is weird.
It's very strange. Yeah. And so when you work on, let's say, a new feature or something, do you plan it out yourself and you go, oh, I need this file and this change here and this thing here? Or do you just say, hey, agent, I need this feature. Go
Yeah.
plan it.
It depends on the feature. If it's something that's like very large, then I will typically plan that out like in advance, and then figure out how to break it into smaller pieces so that it's not all just like one shot it and done at once. Because I feel like that's sort of where AI still sort of breaks down, is like, yeah, if not the AI breaking down, but in like the review process, um, then then I'll break it into smaller pieces. Whereas if it's, just a small discrete chunk of work that needs to be done, then I'll typically use like the plan mode first to figure out exactly how I want it done, and then run agent mode to do the actual work.
Yeah, okay. And not spec-driven development or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I have on my very long list of things that I need to look into. Spec Kit is on there, and I
Yeah, yeah.
would like to. I did play with Squad over the weekend
Oh, cool.
recently,
Yeah.
and that was really, really cool, and very
Can you
interesting
maybe
as well.
explain what that is to the listeners?
Yeah, so it is a group of it's like a group of agents that you can set up and work all together. So it'll it's really easy to install. I think you just like npm install it everywhere, and then do squad init within Copilot CLI, and then it'll go through and like staff your group of folks. So I think I had like a front end developer, a back end developer, like a tech lead that was overseeing everything, and like a test engineer.
Yeah.
I think it was like 5 or 6 different roles, but then they all work together and make decisions and sort of like play back and forth with each other to, write something very quickly. And so I was doing like just like a fun project on my own just to like try this out and like solve a small problem for myself. Um, and I used Squad for the first time to do that. And I realized like that was a really great way to like get a lot of stuff going at once and sort of, like scaffold something into existence that then I could take and like shape into what I wanted it to be. In like a more less crazy, I guess, way where there weren't as many things happening at once, because it was hard to also keep track of all the changes happening at once. But I didn't really need to keep track of them until I was ready to like actually shape it into what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. And do those agents then work truly autonomously, or do you still need to ask them things?
Yeah, so it seemed like the way that it worked is like the Copilot CLI would come back, and they went and like I've created a spec markdown file and then a design markdown file, and they pretty much just worked off of that and came back and divided that into a
Yeah.
couple of different chunks of what to do. And then Copilot would come back to me and be like, all right, they're done. Should we move on to the next one, or do you want to smoke test the changes? And so I would like go test the changes and come up with, feedback for them on what I wanted to change from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of local offshoring. You have a little team.
Yeah.
You just say, go do this, and then they just go do that.
Yeah.
That's
They
so
just
cool.
go do it. It was crazy. And it was, yeah, it's very cool. And it makes me realize like just how many things can be done now, because I've been a software engineer for long enough that I have like had a very long list of side projects or ideas on what I wanted to do. And that would usually die at the point where I, start thinking about breaking down the tasks or go buy a domain. We've got a
I know.
massive collection of domains that haven't done anything. And now that's not doing the work isn't really the bottleneck. Like you can go from idea to a working prototype in, a couple hours, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's the thing now, isn't it? It's the hardest thing is now you need to figure out what you want to make.
Yes. What is
That's
worth
it.
making? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, all of those things are not free necessarily to like deploy. So now you have to make the decision of like, what deserves to exist in my, in my droplet somewhere, or for me to actually pay for. And that's kind of an interesting change where I feel like a lot of engineers are having to sort of step into this like product management role in a way that they haven't had to in the past.
I think now you need to think about value way earlier, because previously when you had a cool idea, you buy a domain name and you go build the thing because that's the fun. You build the thing. It might not be super valuable, but you keep building it and building it. Maybe you push it and then you think, meh, it's a bit meh.
Yep.
But now you just don't bother.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I feel like it's sort of changed the way that I think about building things, for sure.
Yeah. So Squad, would you trust it for your daily work?
I don't know. I don't think that I would run it on like on my work that I'm working on in production, but that's also in part because I think it's good for large changes that need to be made. Not so much for like, a lot of the work that I do is like, oh, there's a small bug fix or a small part of this feature that I'm going to add or something like that, that typically it just doesn't really require like that much effort going into it. I should try it. I think it would be fun. I mean, that's the beauty of Git repositories, right? Is like you could just run it and see how it does. And see
Yeah,
if
you
it
don't
just
have to
one shots that
yeah.
feature,
Yeah, you don't have to push it to production.
Yeah, it's true. You don't have to push it. You can just experiment and see what it's like. I feel like that's sort of been like my lesson with doing AI things is like a lot of my discomfort with like what I would actually do with it is like very much on me, and it's not necessarily on what they can do. It's like, oh, have I tried running Squad on, on my like normal day-to-day code base? Like I'm sure once I did it, I would be actually very comfortable with it and realize like, oh, there's so much more. But then that comes with like the existential crisis of who am I? What am I doing? Like all of those things that come up with AI as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I found in the beginning when this started to work, and I'm talking like 6 months back or something, because before that, it wasn't that great at coding. It was good. But, I had a little bit of shame when I pushed something into production that I didn't write myself. It's like, come on, I'm cheating. It's like copy pasting from Stack Overflow or something. It's not right. Just it doesn't feel right. But now I'm very comfortable with it. It takes a while.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah, I think it takes a while to build that
know.
muscle. And like, I think there was a really good talk last year at Cascadia JS that I really liked from Craig Dennis too, that he did about, I feel like I recommend it a lot. It's about, can you be proud of the things that AI builds for you? And it was a really interesting viewpoint, I think, where it's like, can you? I mean, it's still your ideas that made it. Yeah. It still requires, typically anyway, it requires a lot of shaping. And maybe it didn't. Maybe it didn't require a lot of like expertise or interest, but I still think it's really cool when something like that happens. So I land more on the side of yes, you can be proud of it. But
and you need to learn to trust it a little bit as well. If you would run Squad in production or for production code. And so, for instance, do you still check everything that it does, all the code?
Yeah, I would say the vast majority of things, but I feel like I'm pretty comfortable now just being an engineer in general of knowing like what parts are the important parts that need to absolutely work and need unit tests and what parts are a little bit less, like it can do what it needs to do and it'll be fine if like they use a slightly different front end component or it's not built exactly how I would imagine it being built. So I would say that I still check most of it.
Yeah, exactly. Your CSS won't cost GitHub millions. Probably.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So where do you hope this is going for yourself for productivity?
Oh, good question. I think this is mid-April, and the recent mention of Mythos is something I've been keeping an eye on because I'm like, oh, it looks like we hit yet another, step change in how good AI is. So I'm curious to see how that changes things. I lean on the side of like leaning in to all of it. Like there's nothing that I can do individually to say like, hey, maybe we should pump the brakes on this AI thing. Like it's going to happen regardless. So I would
Yeah.
rather learn how to use it and do well with it, because I think that like if you're going to be an engineer like 5 or even a year from now, like it has to be, you have to use it, and you have to use it well, because the folks that are doing it are going to be so much faster and than the ones that aren't. So I try to keep up with it as much as possible and continue using it. But I also, I don't know, I think I also appreciate the viewpoints of folks that are like, but I liked writing the code. For me, it was never really like part of my identity to be like a good coder, or really good like leak
Mhm.
code. Like, gosh, I can think of a million other things I'd rather do than do leak code problems. I really like building things, and now I can build things so much faster and better and easier than I was able to before. And I think that part's exciting. But I think a lot of folks probably struggle with the fact that like things are different now.
Yeah, things are different, but like you say, you can add value way more quickly now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So,
true.
yeah, you just need to, I think, develop different muscles.
Hmm.
Like you become more of a product owner
Hmm.
and architect, and nudge the AI into, no, you should look into this, or it needs to be scalable. It shouldn't cost 10,000 to run or something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think I've
yeah.
seen some recent discourse about how like the role of engineer and product manager are sort of merging together to just be like a builder of things. And I feel like I have a product manager that I work with regularly at GitHub, and I think that we are both like converging on this same similar role where I'm like helping her become an engineer and she's helping me become a product manager.
Mm.
And I feel like we're sort of converging on this one thing that we both end up doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, because obviously non-tech people can now do tech stuff as well. They just talk into the box and stuff happens.
Yeah,
So
it's
why
true.
not?
Yeah.
And do you think that, well, you kind of alluded to it already, but do you think everybody will still be able to be an engineer, or will it just be a couple of folks because people can do so much more now?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of lean on the side where I think that there's so much demand for software that I don't think it's going
Mm.
away. Even in a role right now where I am building with AI very regularly and building faster than I ever have before, our backlog has not gotten any smaller. Um, because the more
Yeah.
things you build, the more things you have to maintain, and the more things change, and the more things people want. And there's also, I think, a story to be told about like there are the right features, and you have to figure out what those are and not necessarily build everything. So I think there's enough work to be done in the world of software that I'm not personally worried about that. But I could see that it would be potentially difficult to get a job anywhere as an engineer if you're not leaning into learning those AI skills, because the folks that are doing it are going to be, 5 or 6 times more productive than you would be without it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's such a strange world now. Like I have 2 kids. One is 10 years old already. And I don't know, a year ago, if you would ask me what should she go and do and learn, I would say, software development or something like that. It's good for problem solving, and, you probably find a job. But now I'm not so sure if you can do that as like an entry level person. I don't know.
Yeah.
What would you advise?
Yeah, I think that the story for junior engineers is probably really difficult right now. I mean, I know it is. Everybody that I talk to that's like early on in their career is like, what is happening? Why is this?
Yeah,
Is this
it's
normal?
crazy.
No, it's different. It's completely different than it ever has been before. But like I said, I do think that there's still going to be a demand for software going forward. And even if it's not necessarily like your full-time role, I could see that having those skills to build software, I think is going to be important for a lot of roles in the future, even if it's not like being a software engineer. So I still think it's worth doing. I think that we're going to come up with like a potential crisis here in like 5 years if we don't still have junior engineers, because you can't just like come out of the gate as a senior engineer. Like a lot of
No.
your job early on is learning how to build software, because the boot camps and even the degree programs don't really teach that. They teach like, this is how computers work. I'm like, this is how you write React code or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
the actual like act of engineering software is something that you really only learn on the job. And so if we're not investing in those skills for folks early in career, then I think we're going to have some problems a few years from now. The whole world runs on software. So like, I don't feel like that's going to go away and anytime soon, barring any sort of like major disaster. And so, yeah, I think it'll still be a good career to go into, but I'm also wondering the same thing. My oldest is 5 and she's like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a software worker like my mom. I'm like, maybe, I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Nobody
Yeah,
knows.
I think we're moving up the stack way more and more and more. And that was already the case. Like juniors now, they use front-end frameworks and they think that's like the bottom of the stack. They have no idea. And that's fine too.
Mhm.
That's fine. That's just how you're raised and how your career progresses. But now the stack is very different. You just talk into a box, you type something in there, and then something happens. You don't need to really even see the code. And this is the worst it's gonna be. Like a year from now, can you imagine Mythos-like something? Do we even need to have C# anymore? I don't know. Maybe the thing just makes something that just compiles and runs.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
know.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of talk too about like languages that are, optimized in one way or another. And I think people might lean more towards those and towards rewrites in, maybe it does make sense of what the Rustaceans have been saying for a while to just rewrite everything in Rust because that's the
Maybe.
language that's apparently in the meta right now. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes. I think it's really uncomfortable not
Yeah.
knowing what the future looks like. And I think it's like a good reminder that like nobody does, even the folks predicting everything, like nobody really knows. And we're all uncomfortable at the same time. So like we're all in this boat together, I guess.
But let's just choose to be optimistic.
Yeah.
Because why not? I think also a part of the optimism maybe is all this stuff currently is written by humans still, kind of. There's
Mhm.
so much code written by humans, and that means that we have loads of technical debt, and that can't be solved just in a couple of seconds by AI. That doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
So I think there's still lots of work to do for us as humans.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even now with like static site generators existing and stuff, there's still like demand for so many, small businesses that aren't online yet. And so like I think there's going to be plenty of stuff to do just to get software enablement out there for everybody and to maintain it and to keep it going for a long time. So, yeah, I think it's still going to be around for a while. I'm optimistic.
Yeah, good. Me too. And so, as you work with billing and metering, and also with GitHub Copilot premium request units, you probably work on those or see those or something.
I do.
Uh,
Yes.
do you see those being used a lot, or overused a lot, or that people run into limits?
I think it kind of depends. It seems like in a lot of places there's like a lot of power users and then like a trail, like a big long trail of like folks that don't use it as much within like
Hmm.
places. And I feel like that's the only trend I've really noticed is like there's some people using a ton of AI and then less as you go down the stack. Which I think is interesting. I look at my own usage quite a bit just because this is a space that I'm in and I'm very
Of
interested in
course.
it. And I feel like I use a lot of AI, but I really don't. Um, I compared to a lot of the folks, maybe that's just like the way that GitHub is run, where there's just a ton of folks using a ton of AI. But I personally don't use a ton, so I don't really know how to gauge. Is
Hmm.
there somebody that uses a lot and that's the way to do it? I think there's been like some talk online about how like, oh, like if you aren't using your salary in tokens every month, like are you even an
Yeah.
engineer? Don't think I use like an extra $100 or something like that in usage beyond my normal amount.
Okay. Yeah.
That seems like a very reasonable trade-off for the amount of productivity I feel like I gain out of it. So I don't think that discourse is going to be around forever where everybody's like, oh, you got to use as much as you can and you're going to be the most productive engineer. I don't think that there's like a linear relationship between token usage and productivity, from what I can see. But
No, tokens are expensive.
They are.
So,
yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to see when Mythos comes out. I feel like it's probably, maybe it's going to be more expensive. I don't know. That's what I'm most excited to see soon.
Yeah, I think, isn't OpenAI, they also have something similar, right? That's coming up. I don't remember the code name. It was an interesting code name. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they have it already, all this stuff, because once one company drops one, day after the other one does it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be wild.
Yeah. What else I think is interesting is it seems like recently there's been a lot of talk about local models actually like getting good. It seems like they're maybe like 6 months to a year behind like the frontier models, which is actually great because 6 months ago, development got a lot better. And so if local models are hitting that inflection point as well, then maybe we can, maybe the conversation about the cost and everything like that is changing soon. We'll see how that changes.
Yeah, that'll be interesting for GitHub Copilot as well, because now with Copilot CLI, it can run local models since a couple of days. Mm-hmm. And there's now Gemma 4, for instance, mm-hmm. Google Gemma 4, which runs locally. I haven't tried it yet, if it's fast enough or capable enough, but mm-hmm. that'll be interesting. Yeah. Like, how will billing go? What's the value of Copilot? Just a harness, or?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be more changes than we anticipate as things actually settle out. Like I said, nobody knows what the future is going to be.
No. Exciting. Okay. So what are you excited about working on next?
Yeah, I think I've recently, so I think up until now, I've really been using AI tools more as like, I need to create this feature or fix this bug or something like that. And I really want to spend more time using them for refactoring. I think that that's like one of the bigger opportunities is like, how do we now refactor a lot of this existing code to like optimize for how, the agent would build this thing, so that it theoretically works better when, Copilot or something like that is working on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be an interesting space, both with like these more advanced models coming out that are, able to find all of those security exploits. It sounds like we're supposed to be rewriting all software in the next few months to avoid that. But also to see, I think that a lot of these models are good enough now to take the wheel for the most part on building software. And so what does that mean for all of the existing code and all of the tech debt that's out there already that we need to go handle and deal with? So I'm interested to do more refactoring with Copilot and see how that changes things with my own workflow.
Yeah, and get rid of some technical debt and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would love to see the end of a backlog one day. That sounds nice. I don't think that it could happen. Like I said, I think that, you never get to the end of the to-do list, but I would love to see the end of a to-do list and be like, we did it. We built all the software.
Well, you're friends with the product manager, so maybe you can make something happen.
That's true. We can also get there by just removing everything. And yeah. But I think that's going to be interesting.
Okay, very cool. And then maybe finally, is there anything exciting coming up in the GitHub world, like features or capabilities that we should keep our eye out for?
That's a good question. I don't feel like I'm plugged in enough because a lot of the things that I'm working on right now are not shared publicly. So probably, and you'll have to stay tuned to see how those actually work out.
Cliffhanger. Good.
Yeah, cliffhanger. Great things are coming.
Okay, exciting. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for talking with me today. This was fun.
Yeah.
Where can people go and find out more about you?
So I have a website that sort of aggregates all of the things on my socials and all that. And it is brittanyellich.com.
Excellent. Cool. And from there, they can also find your podcast.
Yes. Yeah. I've got a podcast where I chat with some of my engineering friends about folks that are very dedicated and excited about the world of software engineering. I write online too, write some blogs. I just got on the front page of Hacker News the other day for the first time, which felt like a career milestone. So yeah, I'm online a lot, probably more than I should be. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.